Hey aunties, it's your sugar, Brian C. Hawkins, giving it to you live and direct from Miami, Florida, giving you all the tea that's hot, fresh, and brewing for today.
29 days of Black history.
Ask your aunties. Check your friends.
And it's not your American dirt to tell. So get your cups ready for MinoriTea Report. Happy
Hey,
Black
y'all.
History Month, y'all.
Hey, what's up? It's that time of the month. Ayo,
Hey,
ayo,
wake
ayo.
up, wake up. It's Black History Month. Wake up, wake up, wake up. As I sit here in my Ivy Park. Ow, ow.
Yes.
Even though my shoes came in crumpled, Beyonce and Adidas, I'm a little upset at life. A little
How do your
salty.
shoes come crumpled, though? Like, aren't
Girl,
they
I
packaged
don't
with,
know.
like, you know?
No, not these shoes, it seems like.
Because usually Adidas shoes, because that's all that I wear. I don't wear Nikes. But usually they come with, like, a mold on the inside of the shoe.
Yeah.
Then that mold is stuffed with, paper or foam or whatever. And then the shoes inside the box are wrapped pretty carefully, and the box is wrapped
I guess
carefully.
she spent all her extra coin on them orange boxes that she was sending across the world.
You know what?
Because it had nothing crumpled up in there except my shoe. So I hope y'all hear this. I don't care. I'm upset. I spent my pretty little coin.
You don't have to tag
So I'm like,
Adidas and let them know.
girl,
Oh, she did on Instagram.
oh, yeah.
That
She sure
quality
did.
control needs a
Oh,
little.
she sure did. It's all up on there.
It's all on there. I tagged her publicist and everything.
But you look cute, though. It looks good on you.
Thank you, girl.
Yeah, it looks real good on you. I like
And
it.
it's comfortable. So I do like the sweatshirt and the sweatpants I got, but it's just these shoes.
I'm buying the harness for this summer.
Okay.
Ow.
I'm gonna rock that Ivy Park harness at Pride this year.
We talked
You know,
about
she gonna
that.
be-
I think, Carell, you brought that up like in an episode not too long ago about, the harness and how that's kind of coming from S&M culture into, mainstream.
The mainstream.
Yeah. Gay stream.
Right, the gay stream.
Because, everybody wearing harnesses now.
It's true.
That's true. That's real true.
Like like Lil Nas X is part of the community. Hey, Lil Nas X. But even at the Grammys, his little pink all outfit, his little cowboy S&M outfit that he had on, had all those little harnesses on, and it just seems to be pop culture now.
I thought it was cute though.
It is
I'm
cute.
here for it. I don't know if I would wear it.
It's not for
I know
me.
I would not
exactly.
wear
It's
it.
not for me, but it's for him.
Right.
Yeah.
You know how you walk in the store and you see this bomb outfit on the mannequin, you're like, oh, that looks cute. Then you try it on, you're like, no, get this off me right now. It was one of those outfits. It was one of those outfits.
Exactly.
But it's crazy how many people thought he
Absolutely.
was doing the most though. I was like, it's pink. I think
Right.
outside of that, it wasn't anything we ain't seen before. We've all seen a harness on the red carpet. We've all seen cowboy boots and leather pants and hats and rhinestones. He just put everything that we've seen together into one.
His whole brand is a
that's
mix of anime and cowboy. So if you look at any outfit that he's ever worn, whether it's on stage or in a video or whatever, or in a magazine, it's somewhere in the mix between it being a cartoon superhero / anime and a cowboy. So,
and now's the time to do it. He's not even 21.
Right.
If you're going to go all out and hodgepodge everything, now's the time to do it because you're going to look extra crazy when you're 49 and doing it.
And the truth be told, he's still on his coming out journey. You know what I'm saying? That was a little over a year ago when he came out, to everyone. So, he's still finding himself and figuring out, how he wants to present himself to everyone and who he is in his skin. And if this is what he wants to try to see if this is his style, then girl, go for it. Because we didn't all done some things doing our coming out journey.
Some outfits I ain't proud of back in the day.
Look, you look back. Look, we all did that 10-year challenge.
Look, okay.
But
True.
it's
I wore that.
And it's so interesting because I always wonder with him specifically, because his look is always so kind of like out there. I wonder how much of it is really him, like it's his style, or if it's like the boy band complex where like his team behind him is really dressing him, and it's not really like his thing. And then once he comes out,
like a stereotype of a gay black man,
right? And then like when he comes out with his sophomore album, then we see the softer, more urban side, the R&B side of Lil Nas X. with this taco meat all hanging out.
Sears. Right.
That's a good point. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Although right now I can't handle Lil Nas X just because Fiznik has been singing Panini for like the last 3 days. And he has literally been texting me nothing but song lyrics. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I have to remember it's the damn Panini song. I'm like, you know what? Look.
Mm-hmm.
You messing it up.
Panini. I like Panini. That's a good
hilarious.
song. And then he got that new song, Rodeo, with Nas. I got so hyped when Nas came out.
Hey, I did too.
Nas looks good as hell still.
Can we talk about how amazing that just the whole performances were at the Grammys? I mean, let's start with Lil Nas X. Well, not all of them, but like a vast majority of them. A vast majority of them were really, really good. At least I found.
Community, I have to look. I got something to say. This is an announcement. I actually liked Camila Cabello's performance.
Okay.
Wow. Say words.
I still don't like her. But I like the sentiment and the moment that she gave to her father live like that. And to see her dad tear up and cry like that and just it be authentic and real. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's not singing about another man. She's singing about like her first love with the first person to love her, which was her father. I was like, you know what? Okay, I can respect that girl. I was like, okay. But then she came out the second time. Look, then she came out the second time. I was like, get her off my goddamn screen. Just seriously, grand opening, grand closing. It was that quick.
And they're still pushing her even after the fact that they found all those old Tumblr pages of hers calling black people the N-word.
Yeah.
So I'm on team Jarrell of old saying, fuck her.
Oh, I still don't like her.
I heard that.
I still don't like her, but I liked her performance. But I have to say the top 3 for me, vocally was her. I think her sounded phenomenal. She
always does.
And it was great. I love that song.
The only thing about her right now, though, she might start getting this like Alicia Keys complex where she always has to prove that she can play the piano and prove that she can play the guitar. It's like, girl, we know. Like, just sing or work more on the production value and things like that. Like, we've seen it so many times now. Yeah. And I love her, and we know you can play. But show another avenue.
I think that's actually her. Amazing. There's on YouTube. There's like a mini docuseries of when she was touring in between her 2 albums, and she talks a lot about her growing up playing 9 different instruments, and she just loves, she loves adding the aspects to her writing. But I agree, like when she was playing the piano, I got very much Alicia Keys too. I was like, this is what Alicia Keys used to be like, like
all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I did speaking of Alicia Keys, I did like her intro song that she did, that was specifically wrote for the Grammys. That was like super cute.
She just needed to get there quicker though. Like she was like ad-libbing for like 5 minutes, and I was like, okay, Alicia, just get to the damn song.
There was one point when she was like, the Grammys is 10,000 hours long, so keep your speeches short. I was like, you better tell them right now. Look, you're on a time limit.
But funny thing is that this year's Grammys was one of the lowest rated or lowest viewed Grammys of all time. It dropped 13% in viewership.
Kobe passed away too, so I'm sure a lot of people just were not in the
feeling it.
Grammys. And honestly, I wasn't either. But I knew like Demi Lovato was going to be performing, which her performance was really good. Just hearing her like sing that song about her before she relapsed and everything, that was deep. And she cried beforehand.
And I read an article that she said she wrote that song 3 days before that whole incident.
Yeah.
So like she was clearly crying out for help right before she OD'd.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
crazy.
Yeah. And then Lizzo, she opened the show perfect. I think Lizzo's opening was really exactly how it needed to be. couldn't ask for anyone else to be about. Like literally, the only other person I would want to see if there was Beyonce. Like if it wasn't Beyonce, I think Lizzo was the next best person to be up there to do.
And you know she wasn't there.
She sure wasn't.
No, she was not
they
there.
said fuck that up for ain't shit. I love Tyler the Creator. I love his albums.
She was
I
on
love
mute.
Him.
No,
Tyler the Creator is so dope to me.
That's a no
all
for
the way.
me,
I love that little.
I love the weirdos. I really do, especially the weirdos in the Black culture, because I love what he said after the fact when he was getting interviewed, and he was just like, you know, whenever somebody Black does something different, they always want to stick us in the urban category, and you know that word urban is, you know, the white West version of the word nigger, and like I just felt that so hard. Because what Tyler, the Creator, does musically is just in a completely different lane than what traditional urban music is. And
yeah, it really is. And it's not my lane.
I appreciate his, I just appreciate his authenticity. And he even said it that, you know, listen, I know that, you know, my music is not this. And so in some ways it feels like, oh, I'm just pacifying you. But in the other way, I feel, you know, really gratified that my art is being recognized. So like, I really felt that because that's a really honest statement. But I think if you listen
to his albums, though, his albums aren't that far left of center. That might be the most far left of center song on that particular album.
That sounds scary to me. You know when your mom would be like, listen, you can't watch a certain music because the devil in the music. That song scared the hell out of me. I was like, ooh, that spirit ain't sitting right with this song.
Him and his Anna Wintour wig.
I love it. I love all dope. And the reason I love it is because it's people like that who go against the grain in terms of what you're supposed to look like, how you're supposed to sound, how you're supposed to act, and all that give people who don't feel like they belong, who don't feel like they're normal, whatever normal is supposed to be. It gives them license to actually lean more into their authentic self.
And it pushes music and visuals forward.
Yeah.
Like, I guarantee you 5-10 years from now, we'll look back at this performance and be like, oh, it wasn't anything, you know? But right now, for this time, compared to what's out there currently, it just sounds so far left. But he's so inspired by Pharrell, like he brought him up in the speech.
Yeah.
He's so inspired by like the Missies, the Andre 3000s.
Right.
And like even his whole crew, because he's with like the Frank Oceans and everything, their whole squad, and like Sid and I forget the group that Sid is even in. So they just have this cool sound. The album is dope. It should have been up for Album of the Year, Record for the Year, which people were upset with Billie Eilish winning. I thought it was a dope album, honestly. So
I mean, people love her. I actually really like her voice. I just can't look at her. Like I just
she's kind of
I see her.
She looks like the human version of an STI.
Ooh.
Damn.
You know what I mean? Like when I look at her,
that was like Flavor Flav.
You know, but you know what though? She looked like she smelled dirty. I know what you're saying though. You know what I'm saying? Like you know how you look at a picture and you be like, you make that stank face. You can't help but make that stank face. Like you smell it. Like it's a scratch and sniff or something. You know, you like scratch.
But this is what I told Corey on the couch watching her. She's going to have Angelina Jolie complex. Because remember Angelina Jolie at the beginning was like weird and almost that dirty. And now she's like one of the most gorgeous human beings on earth. I swear, give Billie Eilish when she turns like 30. She's going to start wearing more like the gowns and things because she's pretty as it is already. Yeah. But now she's just in that little 18-year-old, let me wear what I want to, whatever, which she should. But give her 10 years.
She keep a hot topic in business. So you know what? Good for them. They love her.
That was a custom-made Gucci outfit she had on. It looked like hot topic for real, though. What y'all think about Billy Porter, though?
I thought she was cute.
I didn't like her makeup.
She needed a lash.
Yeah.
She needed a lash.
It made her eyes look weird. I was like, girl.
Yeah.
She'll give you a hat every single time, girl. Every single time. She'll give you a hat. A hat, a crown. She'll have something on that head.
And you know what? I actually liked Usher's performance. Like shout out to Prince.
Yeah. Same
that
here.
Was cute. I was like, okay. I was like, all right now.
The only thing I did not like about Usher's performance was his pants. I didn't care for them.
I liked them.
I didn't care for them. I liked
the little bell bottom.
You know what it was? It reminded me too much of of see, the brain just went.
Come on, girl. We got you.
James Brown. That's what I was thinking of.
Oh, okay.
It reminded me of him, like the height of the pants. Like, even though they were leather and they were kind of like a bell-ish kind of a bottom or whatever, they, for some reason, the construction of them did not seem to fit. And I was giving him the benefit of the doubt, thinking, well, maybe they were designed for him to be dancing. But all he did was the James Brown shuffle. Because, you know, that's a lot of the inspiration for Prince. And so I just, I wasn't feeling it. And the crotch was like really low. So I just didn't, no.
He brought back his Usher haircut though. You saw that?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, what they call it? The Riviera French or something like that.
Oh, is that what they call it?
Yeah.
And what do they call
French.
that Grizzly Adams beard that he was rocking?
Ooh. I don't know, Grizzly Adams.
Girl,
I don't know.
I mean, we could have did with
Just
that. she could have Gilletted that before she came out on stage. But the performance, though, laid it down.
I thought he killed
them falsetto notes like butter.
I wish they did more with Sheila E. though. She was just kind of like an accessory.
Yeah,
and I was like, if you're doing a tribute to Prince, she lived it. She was there. She sang his songs. She was part of the crew. At least let her sing "The Fabulous Life" or something.
Yeah, but you know that she's going on tour. They're doing like a Prince tour, and she's one of the headliners of that. I forget who else is going with her.
I think the Time are too.
I wanted to say that, but I wasn't. I didn't want to put it out there and not be for sure. But yeah,
I'm not sure either. Because I followed the Time on Instagram. Like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis were part of the Time, and they've been posting a lot of pictures of them with the band right now. So I'm like, okay, they must be gearing up to do something. Mm-hmm.
But that whole tribute was it was spectacular. It was just really good. I felt like the music was right, the vibe was right. It was, less like macabre and more like celebratory, and it just felt good.
Felt good in my spirit.
And before we get too far, though, I was going to say we should probably say a shout out for our opener, though, too.
Yes.
Thank you, Brian. You better bring us
hey,
in,
sugar from the South. That's my old Ohio girl. We grew up damn, my brain is not working today. I had a long ass day, y'all. You don't even know. Hour. And 2 cocktails before I got here. But we grew up 2 suburbs apart. But hey, girl.
And I know she was probably down there busy this weekend for a Super Bowl, probably getting everybody hair together and makeup together.
Girl, I'm sure her hands are like, she probably got that hot comb crimp on their fingers.
Right. Use my other hand. This hand ain't strong enough.
No, thank you, girl, for that opening. That was real cute.
And we're gonna have to get you on the podcast soon and talk about just like what you're doing down there. And we see you shaking and jiving down there, girl.
That'll be cute.
Making them money moves.
She comes to New York from time to time. She came up here for New York Fashion Week, but I was traveling the weekend that she was up here, and so I didn't get a chance to see her. But I'm sure, like the summer shows and the fall shows and whatnot, she'll probably make her way back up here. So yeah, girl, just hit me up and let me know when you're going to be coming to town. We can do a little something.
And community, if y'all didn't hear at the beginning, it is Black History Month.
Yes,
and
it is.
Blackity black.
Hey, and so each episode will be, making sure that we say something about on this day in Black history. So today on February 3rd,
what happened
Black
on
history,
this day?
In 1920, the Negro Baseball League was founded. So for those that didn't know, there was an actual Negro League separated because we couldn't even play in the same baseball league as white folks. Nope. And let me tell you, the Negro League was popping back then in the day too. Look, they had no choice because it was so much boring. We were doing so much more than what they were. They were like, this athleticism is just ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm. And then, I know this is Black History Month, but I know there was even some Latin Americans in the league as well, just because they weren't allowed in the MLB officially as well. So, yeah, that's cool. February 3rd, that's when it started. And then also, just for Black History Month this year, there's a theme every year. And the theme for this year is African Americans and the vote. And it's in honor of the centennial anniversary of the 19th Amendment of 1920. which granted women's suffrage, and the 150th anniversary of the 15th Amendment, which gave Black men the right to vote.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big year for 2020, just 100 years. But also, obviously, we know what's coming up in November. So once again, we preach this a lot. Make sure you are registered to vote. If you don't know how, check out vote.org. That will give you a lot of options of wherever you're listening to us at within your state to ensure that, yes, you are registered. And then if you're not, give you the opportunity to register.
And just don't assume that you're registered because, you know, in a lot of different states, they kicking a lot of people off the registry.
Yes.
So double check, triple check, vote in the primaries. Don't just wait for the big elections, vote local, but make sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that you are registered.
Yes.
And one more fun fact too, Black History Month started in 1926 and originally started as Negro Week, National Negro Week.
Oh, okay. Then we glowed up to a whole month.
You know,
a whole month.
Exactly.
And it's a leap year, so we get an extra day.
Extra day. Come on now.
Yes, you get an extra day of blackness, bitch.
Right. And the reason why it's in February, too, I'm not sure if everybody knows, is because it was Frederick Douglass's birthday in February and also Abraham Lincoln's birthday in February. So a lot of people complain, why is it the shortest month of the year, et cetera, et cetera. They did it because those were two, at least, icons within the community back then, and they wanted to do it around those birthdays. So
cool. You know what I also noticed about the Grammys? You know, a lot of people don't watch like the award shows like they used to. They just kind of catch the highlights on the YouTubes and the interwebs and all that stuff. But I noticed
Ain't that what you do most of the time?
I do, but now she got homework, girl. Now she got homework. She got to come correct. And I think
I remember last year she did the Cliff Notes last year.
Right. So did.
She's like, I ain't got time for this.
One of the benefits of getting older as one of the older dolls, as the oldest doll of the aunties, is your right to be able to own your truth. So yes, honey, I watched what I watched and I said what I said. But I totally did appreciate how very ethnic, like representative the performances were last night. Like it didn't feel whitewashed like a lot of award shows have been coming off this year. So
yeah, I mean, it's hard to deny people of color in their music. I mean, all the way from
they manage,
to
they still manage.
Right.
We see them
because they had Sharon Osbourne and Ozzy Osbourne
in Indiana,
and to speak on the half of the best rap album. Like
of
all the people, I died, bitch.
She
died.
Said, DJ Khaled.
Look, and I was just waiting for Taylor Swift to come out there and rip off, you know, Tyler the Creator's little look. So we'll see what happens on the next award show.
I guess. But yeah, so pay attention to us on social media. We'll have things up on social media for Black History Month. We'll be putting little nuggets throughout the podcast episodes throughout this month as well. But we also want you to contribute. And if there's things or people that you're proud of within your community, let us know. And we'll put them up and uplift them and put shine upon them because we really want to shine our community this month and tell like either just little vulnerable stories from our history, vulnerable stories from our community history, but also provide little nuggets throughout the month of things you might not have known or barrier breakers for our community, honestly. So I'm excited. And what was that meme that was going around? I was like, I'm normally black, but this one I'm going to be blackity black. So
I'm here for it.
And I'm proud.
I'm going to be wearing at least one pro-black t-shirt every single week of this month.
Okay. I don't have any t-shirts.
I got a few.
That.
I actually just bought a couple. I was like flipping through Instagram and I saw like this really cute t-shirt that says something like, I forget exactly what it says, but it's something like, you know, I'm all the way black and you have to deal with it, or something sassy or whatever. But I can't wait to wear it and see, you know, what kind of interest that stirs up in the cannabis community.
I guess I have a melanin shirt. I guess I got a couple of shirts that I wore during market days. For some reason, every year for market days, I always seem to wear something that's pro-black. I don't know where that spirit's coming from.
I mean,
It is what it is.
I'm gonna save that. I'm gonna save my response till June.
To June. Or to August. Oh, man. But you know what? I think we're going to get Ask Your Aunties earlier in this episode. So what time is it?
Ask your
aunties. Yes.
Turn up.
Yes.
Okay, so this week's... Are we going to say it? Is it anonymous or are we saying their name?
I don't know if it's anonymous. I don't think it's anonymous.
Okay.
If it is, sorry, boo.
Right.
maybe it's been a minute since this Ask Your Aunties was received, so maybe the situation has been resolved. So we can help some other y'alls out there.
Right, exactly. You still have it up, Dewan?
I will. There she is. Okay. All right, this Ask Your Aunties comes from our girl Buck in Minneapolis. Hey, girl.
Does anyone call you Uncle Buck? Let us know.
See, you know what?
Hit us up.
She like, I got the best pancakes.
We your aunties. He could be the uncle.
Right.
I'm going to put a little correction. Buck is actually in Portland.
Oh,
but
okay.
I know her
Why
from
did you say Minneapolis up in here?
I gotcha.
Oh, because that's her handle. Minneapolis.
Yes.
Okay. Here is one more just because I'm from Dallas. How do you deal with a friend who is at sometimes problematic? From stereotyping the Latin community to his friends who want to be a representative for the entire Black community. Literally asked me, why is it okay for Black and brown folks to use the N-word, but not his white ass? And then said, Dwan almost fell out.
Oh man, Jarrell? I feel like you got it in your spirit to go first.
The second question kind of I'm gonna need some clarification on, but I definitely got that first and the third part. So, when it comes to dealing with a problematic friend, check them. I got time today. I always got time. I put time on reserve just in case, someone gets out of line. You got to set them straight. You are the company you keep. And so if you allow your people to go around, or people you call your friends to go around being problematic, you're basically encouraging it. So that falls on you too. Especially when it comes to racism to Black and brown people and you being a person of color, like you allowing someone to disrespect you and then disrespect other people that look like you. And I'm going to blame you if I fight them. So, set them straight.
Hey.
And that last part, I don't care who you... Don't say the N-word. Period. If you white, don't say it. Don't say it. Don't hum it. Don't it. Nothing. Don't mouth it. Don't breathe it. Don't write it. Don't think it. Forget it.
Hey,
next.
I'm here for everything. Right, next. Thank you.
Oh, wait, next. And I want world peace.
Isn't it so funny how there are white people out there that have a problem with with Black people bringing up slavery and the shit that comes in the past, but then they won't let this them saying the N-word go?
Say it again for the people in the overflow.
I don't know.
I don't understand it either. It goes back to entitlement, honestly. They feel they could do all things at all times. No, you can't. Sit down and have several. Thank you. Jarrell nailed it, honestly. I feel if it's that bothersome to you, you need to check that person. You need to let them know why. You got to let them know that you are bothered. Because a lot of times people don't... You find sometimes the people that kind of have that spirit don't even realize they have that spirit.
True.
And sometimes you gotta be like, hold on, girl. No, this is not it. And these are the reasons why it is not it. And if you feel some kind of way about it, then I can't hang around you anymore until you grow up and realize I'm trying to help the situation, help our friendship, help you be in this world without being a problem.
Yeah.
Right. And so if they feel, like I said, if they feel some kind of way about that, and then it's after a certain point, people are grown and you can't, after you state your piece and you got to move on then. There's no worth in being in that friendship anymore.
I love that you said that. Because then it becomes a reflection of who you hang out with.
Absolutely. It was a reflection of you. because now people are looking at you like, oh, Carell hang out with that dude that keep on asking why can't I use the N-word and why can't I do this and talking shit about this community.
Or he lets them use the N-word.
Right. And so and that takes sometimes time to get to that realization about for yourself too. I don't think I don't know.
Did y'all mama not tell y'all that when y'all were kids? Like, you are who your friends are. Like, look,
they tell you, but sometimes you're like, okay, whatever, mom, or whatever, dad, I hear you. But sometimes you got to go through some shit and experience some shit to realize what they were saying was so legit, you know? So yeah. And then the second part of that question, feeling like a representative for the whole community, I feel that sometimes, like, especially with certain friend groups, you feel like, oh, I better be just on my P's and Q's all the time because you don't want to be that stereotype of a group, you know, or you don't want to, even though there might be some cultural things that within our culture, we're like, yeah, hey, girl, outside the community, it might look a different way. And sometimes you're like, I don't even feel like talking a certain way or acting a certain way just because they're not going to understand it. So I'm not even going to go there. Let me, just stay in this lane.
I literally feel like that right now for my trip to Palm Springs tomorrow, because I'm hanging around some white people that I don't see outside of like certain events and stuff like that. Yeah. And I know we'll be around some other Black folks that are going too. And I know we turn up Kiki like we do at the Crib POC brunch. But I don't know if they're going to handle that. You know, white people, some of them can only handle us in doses.
and it's not to say because you're doing it to make sure that they're okay. It's just like sometimes what they see or even the perception of it is different than what it really is. Mm-hmm. And you just sometimes pick your battles because it is what it is kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would say for the Palm Springs group, if there's a whole squad of just POCs, turn up, girl.
It's not. There's only like 4 of us or 3 of us.
Yeah.
I know. But yeah, back to the question.
But I think that is true that some people do almost put pressure on POCs to be representative of the collective. And sometimes that's not our job.
Nope.
Like, sometimes it has to be. It is what it is. Because sometimes we put pressure on, say, like, white folks as well to be allies and things like that. And we expect that. So I get the expectation. But sometimes you just want to be like, I just want to chill. I just want to be my 1,000% authentic self. And this whole representation for the whole greater collective, which is honestly part of the reason why I wanted to start this podcast, to show that there is actually a spectrum of being Black and a spectrum of being gay, and it's okay. Mm-hmm. It's not just this one siloed thing. And then the N-word, Jarrell said it best. Don't think it, don't write it, don't hum it, don't oomph it, nothing. No race play, no nothing. Mm-hmm. Shut your mouth, move on, pick a different word. Like, there's so many words in the English vocabulary. Why do you got to keep on focusing on this one word that is a terrible word?
And why would you even want to say it? That's the thing. Right. That's the thing that bothers me, is why would you as a person would want to say it? Because
there's power to them. They think there's some kind of power in it.
Right. Like, regardless of how ever Black people have tried and attempted to reclaim the word, the fact that you want to say it is problematic. And I think the underlying thing is when people are immature, they have their friends that are around them, whatever, they don't, and I'll speak from my own experience. I don't think that, people really care so much about kind of the problematic behavior that their friends exhibit, because it doesn't necessarily directly affect them. But I think when you get older and you start to mature, you start to realize that, the people that you're around are a reflection of you, or the things that they're doing become problems for you or problems for other people. You start to realize that maybe these people aren't the friends that I think they are because of their actions. And now that you have more insight to say, maybe now I need to look at, maybe now I need to be looking at their behavior with a little bit more of a fine-tooth comb, as opposed to just, skirting over it like, okay, well, they're still my friend. So, and they're still a good person in their heart. So I'm just going to excuse their bad behavior. That's the behavior that you do when you're younger. And I think when you get older, you just realize I'm not about that life. So I think the fact that you're asking this question, Buck, says to me in one way that you're starting to realize that there's probably people around you that probably aren't on your same level of awareness, and, probably are on the outskirts of, the kind of energy you want to be having around yourself, number one.
And it's okay to feel that way.
Absolutely. And I empower you to do that. I think you should feel empowered to be able to really evaluate the people that you are around. And the reality of it is, it ain't your job to change other people. Now, you can check them, and I encourage you to do so, because it's the right thing to do. But at the end of the day, you don't own that. You don't own that person's behavior. You can't change them. So you can say that this behavior is unacceptable to me, and you can use whatever language that is appropriate for you to use to communicate that. But at the end of the day, if they continue to choose to act in a certain way that's against what you feel that you need around you, dust them off. Bye-bye. Let them go.
And to those who think like not saying anything is like the right thing to do, like I would highly encourage you to put yourselves in the shoes of the person that is affected by this person's negative actions, and tell me if you'd be okay with someone's mistreating you based off of your race or the color of your skin or your sex. If you would be okay with someone mistreating you, then I could understand that. But if you wouldn't allow someone to talk to you like you boo with a fool, don't let the company you keep go around and talk like that to other people, especially if it stems from something like racism. And on top of that, like if you think, well, you should accept people for who they are and how they are, et cetera, like that. Well, again, going back to if it's harmful towards others, it's not right. And
how are you gonna live in cancel culture, about a celebrity that you don't know, but you won't live in cancel culture with somebody that you do know that's being problematic.
Damn.
Come on now.
Come on.
That's a problem.
You better preach. You better I need that like on a t-shirt or something somewhere.
Damn. I need that on my church fan. That's going to be on my church fan.
Because he just preached the word right there.
That's real talk. Like, people get so up in arms. We were talking earlier today about the whole Michael Vick situation, right? About how people were so up in arms about Michael Vick and blah, blah, blah. And then,
And then the Pro Bowl just passed and nobody was saying a word.
Crickets.
Nobody watched it.
Crickets.
Nobody cared.
So you had all this fake rage about somebody that you don't know, that has nothing that impacts you, nothing that affects you or whatever. But you got so much rage about that. But you don't have the same kind of rage for the people in your life that are causing problems for yourself or other. Come on now. Get out of here.
You just preached a word today. That touched me. That touched my spirit.
Happy Monday, y'all.
Woo. That is so true. How can you cancel people that you don't even know, but can't cancel people that are acting a fool in your own circle?
That's problematic.
Your own crew. Damn. That just touched my spirit. That is a word today, Jesus.
Yeah. Well,
look at us. We ain't got nothing else to say.
Yeah, for real. Well, we appreciate the question, Boo. And, we, like I said, it's been a minute since we got the Ask Your Auntie. But, send us an update. We would love to hear what has happened since then, since when you sent in this question. And if nothing has, I hope this has inspired you to start the conversation up for the next time something like this might happen. Because if a person is problematic, it's not just a one-time thing. This is something they've probably done a couple times before, which means they'll probably be a repeat offender and do it again. So just armor up and be ready, girl. Just saying.
You're right.
Where do we go from here? Lord, have mercy.
Like, I'm still stuck on that. I'm so stuck on that. That's the realest shit I've heard in a while.
Yeah. Let's talk about Janine Cummins and this American Dirt book. That's a good follow-up to problematic things.
It doesn't surprise me.
Let's tell the community about the situation.
So American Dirt is a book written by a white lady that now is starting to come across that she's like, well, at least my grandma was Puerto Rican. She never used to claim that. She used to always say she was white, and then that she didn't want to write about race in her novels and books and things like that. But anyway, she got a 7-figure deal, and she was like, okay, I'm about to write about some shit today. And so, sorry, I was on the soapbox. Let me step back down. So she wrote a book called American Dirt. And it's from the perspective of a Mexican immigrant trying to get to America and the struggles and the differences between Mexican culture and American culture, et cetera, et cetera. So it becomes a book club nominee or selection on Oprah's book club. So obviously anything that goes on her book club just blows up, selling millions, exposure, TV shows, deals, etc. However, people started reading this book and they're like, okay, how is she selling a novel about Mexican culture when she's not Mexican?
Right.
Because white people do that.
Exactly. I'm just trying to get the background.
Sorry.
I know. I had to step on my
colonizers. They be appropriate at everything.
And honestly, the perspective was just so, like, a lot of people are saying it's almost literally just might as well be a soap opera or something, because it's just so far-fetched, some of it, and just the way she wrote it showed that she's not Mexican, because even just the way she was doing some of the slang and some of the terminology and some of the cultural references was just not, it was so left of center or right of center that people are like, that alone tells us that you're not part of our community, that you haven't experienced these things. Like, I know one of the writers, and I wish I had it written down, she wrote an opinion piece, a lady who's of Mexican descent, wrote an opinion piece how even something as simple in the book, I guess, there's a scene or a story where the girl leaves Mexico and she gets to America and she gets to a skating rink and is just so in awe of a skating rink. And so this
ice skating
piece,
rink, ice skating
rink, yes. And so she was like, we had ice skating rinks all across Mexico. Like, this is nothing that is like, oh, we just now discovered ice. Like, so even something just that simple just showed that it was so whitewashed, and the perspective was from a white person thinking that America was just like this all land and that there was nothing else in the world. Like, and so reading this, I'm like, once again, we've seen it in Black culture, we've seen it in Hispanic culture, we've seen it in Native
Asian
American culture, Asian culture, where folks think, and honestly, her intent might have been okay. She might have wanted to write a story about immigration and things like that. However, that's not your lane. And that's not your culture, and that's not your experience. So how are you writing this and then selling the book to make it appear that it's just this, about immigration and we need to fight immigration and things like that, when the background had nothing like houseway, like,
right.
So a lot of people, right, Drake, and a lot of people within the Mexican and Hispanic community are up in arms right now. And the sad thing is, even people, someone like a Selma Hayek, she didn't even read the book, but she thought it was going to be a good book, so she started promoting it. And then people started hitting her up like, hey, girl, like, why are you promoting this book? Like, you're Mexican. Have you read this book? How crazy it is? And then she had to like backtrack and be like, oh, my bad. Actually, I didn't read the book. I didn't know it was this crazy. And same with Oprah. Oprah's now like, okay, you know what? It was a great novel, which is fine. People make shit up all the time,
right,
every day. There's movies, books, all galore. But now Oprah's even kind of taking a step back saying, okay, there's actually is a bigger conversation we need to have. So it'll be interesting what this conversation comes to be. When she does it, I think it's going to be on Apple TV Plus. But anyway, so yeah, that's a big hoopla around it.
I don't know. I just, again, this is one of those people who in life need to be checked.
Yeah.
Because the reality of the fact that there are so many people who have immigrated from Mexico that have real stories that can be shared, and that can be both fiction, part fiction and nonfiction. Like that could be a novel that's real and deep, not some just made up hypotheticals of what someone thinks it's like to be an immigrant from Mexico, Furthermore, the way she promoted it, like immigration and the whole border and, and stuff like that, like there are people who are, again, who live in this country who are affected directly by it. And the way she went about marketing as far as how revolutionary this book would be was very distasteful. And it was very slapping in the face to the current situation at the border. And I don't know. I'm just saying, if I ever saw her and I had a drink in my hand, it's in her face.
You know what?
Oh, okay. Okay, New Jersey Housewives.
Okay, right. I'm just saying.
Like the Los Angeles Times writer, like Esmeralda Bermudez, she's been one of the most vocal critics of this book, and she said, quote, "In 17 years of journalism and interviewing thousands of immigrants, I've never come across anyone like American Dirt's main character." So here it is. She's interviewed thousands of people. And then she reads the book and she's like, this is so not the situation. I've not interviewed anyone like this main person in this book.
What's so funny to me is that and correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe things have changed now that we're in a new century, in a new decade, and a new year. But like, isn't the number one rule of writing to write what you know? So like, I mean, and it's my impression that people that are in the literary community are sticklers for authenticity. And, you know, like, and if you write something that is just, you know, not from your wheelhouse, or, you know, at least not ghost written in partnership with or whatever, somebody that has credibility in that space, like, you get ripped to shreds. So how did this get such notoriety off of just absolute trash and not being based on anything? It's like this is like that basic white Becky that takes Taco Tuesday too far.
Dewan with the quotes today.
Facts. I feel like that.
I can't.
And she also said she wanted to see herself reflected in this book. And she's like, it's painful that not only did I not see myself, but I found all these things that constantly make us feel small. And those are those nuances that we as Black people always feel like it's just like, okay, yes, your intent might have been okay, but since you are not in that situation or surround yourself with not enough knowledge to be like, oh, these are the little micro aggressions that we deal with day in, day out, that is blind spots for you. That here we go. Here's another book for another collection of people that you're like, oh, yay, let's read this book. Oh, shit. Nope. You make me feel small again.
Right.
Thanks.
I mean, good intents can have bad consequences.
Absolutely.
You know,
but isn't that the outcome of privilege?
Anything.
Isn't that the direct outcome of privilege? Like we have these whole conversations about what privilege is and, you know, how it shows up, and like all these white people that say, I don't have privilege, and they automatically equate privilege to meaning financial privilege, but that's not what it means. And it's just like the lack of awareness of how a person who has no direct relationship to the life that she's writing about, how that impacts the community that is directly living that life.
And the sad thing is, like, Cummins, her blind spots are so big and so steadfast. Her response was, like it says, Cummins says she's aware of her own privilege, her cultural blind spots, and the imbalances in the publishing industry. And she goes, quote, "And that's not a problem that I can fix, nor is it a problem that I'm responsible for. All I can do is write the book that I believe in, and I did that."
Oh, my God. So she said what she said.
She said what she said.
Wow.
Yeah. She said, I said what I said. I wrote what I wrote. Read it, bitch. And I got 7 figures. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's the tough thing.
She better move to Idaho.
And almost like another flip side of it is probably another revelation for Oprah, because it's happened once before. Remember that A Million Little Pieces or Tiny Little Pieces or something book back in like the 90s and the guy made up the entire story?
Yeah.
This almost feels like that, where and I mean, her track record's pretty good. So Oprah's, you know, this is not bashing Oprah at all, but this is probably another due diligence for her to be like, okay, I might have a couple blind spots that either just from my wealth over time, because I'm not in those situations anymore, that I need to make sure that I'm still aware of. But at least she has the platform to correct them and say, okay, you know, I might have had a blind spot on this, but you know what? Let's put a show together now to talk about it and figure out what I did wrong, what I could have done differently, and what are the folks of that community needing from me. And from books like this, et cetera, et cetera.
And and Oprah does not read every single one of the books that goes under her book club. Like, she has a team of people. I think she does. Well, what happens is,
she said for this one, she read the early copy last summer.
Okay.
And
because I watched her on her on the OWN channel, and she was like, you know, how was it the OWN channel, or it might have been her Instagram, where she was like walking through her offices, and the woman that actually selects the books for her, like she reads all of them, and then she selects certain number of books and she puts them on a library wall, like in her office, and then Oprah comes in and then picks the ones, you know, or she'll say which ones do you think would be of interest or whatever. Right. But I will say that I did actually read A Million Little Pieces, and it's a good book. So, you know, I mean, even though
I liked it,
it was really good.
I liked it too.
And that's the thing. Good. This book could be actually a great book. That's the thing about it. It's just like, okay, part of me is just like, okay, make shit up all the time. People do it all the time. That's fine. I think it's just the way she tried to promote it, is what the issue is. And it's just like, okay, this is not representative of that culture, but I just want to make up a story. Cool. Right. Cool. That's what a fiction is. Right. Yeah. But you can't also try to promote it a certain way to make it look a certain thing, and then also try to start saying now, oh, you have Puerto Rican heritage, when your entire life you called yourself a white lady. That's not cool either.
Okay, Elizabeth Warren.
Look, that's exactly what it felt like. It felt like.
She had one tamale and she was like, yo hablo español.
People be thinking you can be POC by injection. That's not how it happens, people. Oh, that is not how that works.
Okay. There's a sauce and a spice that comes from the hips and comes out of your mouth and your soul. You can't fake that shit.
A sauce and a spice from your hips by injection. Y'all nasty. Y'all still on that nasty tip from last week. Right.
Oh, by the way, I listened to last week's episode 3 times this week after it aired. It was so. Yeah. I just have to say thank you, husbands. Episode. Y'all did such an amazing job. It was you. I'm remiss that it took this long for y'all to get on, but I'm glad that it did, because all that pent up angst really kind of shone through. So thank you. It was really
the amount of like lipstick and red heel emojis I received this week. At first I was confused. I was like, what's this? Because Garrett said listened to it probably like 2:00 in the morning on Monday, like right when it was out. And I woke up to like lipstick and some red heels, and I was like, what's she doing? She must have went outside. And I was like, oh, got it. And I got about like 11 more that week too. I was like,
yes.
Oh man,
that was a lot of fun. That was
the community seemed to like it. We got a lot of DMs and messages for that episode, so I'm sure the husbands will be back.
Yes,
they'll be back,
and they got a little bit of exposure, because this was their first time getting on there. So, you know, as a trio, so this will be a good opportunity for them to kind of brush up their skills for the next time. We can get a little bit more nasty.
Corey thinks he's a seasoned pro now. Corey's like, when do you need me back? He's like, it's probably the best rated episode you guys have had. I'm like, that's my boo. Come on now, be confident, girl.
Speaking of support, what do you guys think about Terry Crews kind of throwing Gabrielle Union under the bus, saying that
I haven't read anything. What?
So he went on. I think it was like the Today Show, and he was saying that, you know, the show was diverse, and he had never experienced anything that she had experienced, and that, you know, like the finalists were like Black, white, women, children, Asian, like of all different descents. And, you know, like that's not how the show has been. And out of all the 20 years of me being in the industry, this is the most diverse it's been. And Gabrielle Union kind of responded with just like, you know, wow, like, first of all, we said that we were not going to speak on any of this until the investigation was done. So let's go now that you didn't open your mouth and now that you didn't say something, on top of not supporting me when I've been there for you, when a year ago you were talking about, you know, the sexual abuse that you experienced in the industry, and how many women, especially Black women, came out for your defense. And here you go, got a Black woman right here saying her side of the story and her experience, and you can't be there to support her. Fuck out of here. Out of here.
Oh.
I just can't reconcile someone who, in the same vein, you know, comes out in the midst of the Me Too movement to share his Me Too experience, right? And, you know, and I applaud any man, especially somebody who's, you know, who looks like Terry Crews looks, to have experienced what I don't doubt that he experienced, you know, but as a person whose experience was being a victim of, you know, sexual abuse in whatever way he experienced it, like for him to like throw gas on the commentary that, oh, well, that wasn't my experience, you know, as opposed to just saying you need to listen to these people because they're telling you what they experience. You know, I just can't reconcile those two behaviors.
Mm-hmm. It don't make no sense.
Yeah, that's interesting. And part of me is just like, from the initial thing, because I didn't read any of the articles or anything, is it always my responsibility to stick up for other people, especially if I don't have a relationship with them? You know, part of me is like yes, part of me is like no.
He said the only woman he needs to support is his wife.
But here's the thing, though. Then you have the option. If you're going to throw your support around, then you need to shut the fuck up. Like,
right?
You know,
exactly.
like, then have no comment.
I was going to get there.
Right? Exactly.
I'm sorry, girl.
Yeah.
I told you she had 2 cocktails before she hopped on the podcast, so she's a little extra spicy today.
You did warn us.
You sure did. But then on the flip side, what I was going to say is, if Gab's response was like, we agreed to not talk about that, that means you guys probably already had a conversation behind the scenes, which kind of throws her under the buses, which it feels like is what she's saying. It's like, okay, if you're going to say this, okay, let's go all the way in and tell all the tea then.
Mm-hmm.
And it almost sounds like, honestly, he's like, you know what? I got some bills to pay. I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. I'm gonna say this shit to make NBC look good, to keep my gig. Which it is what it is. That if that's the route he wants to take, clearly he's taking it. So be it, you know. But then you also got to lay in that bed that you made.
Right. But the thing is, he wasn't even on there to talk about that. He was on there to talk about the show Brooklyn 911 that he's on.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they caught him at the end. And literally all he needs to say was no comment. You know, that's not what I'm here for. You know, like. Right. Just been Switzerland, just been neutral. But, you know, he had to open his mouth. And, like, again, kind of like what Dewan was saying, it's just like, while you were telling your truth and the negative reaction that some people were giving you, you basically did the same thing to her.
Mm-hmm.
You tried to discredit her by talking about yourself and what you went through. And you know what it's like because you voiced your truth.
Right.
The least you could have done was give her the benefit of the doubt and literally just said, my experience was different. And that is it. But you didn't have to try to discredit her while talking about what you experienced. You didn't even need to go into detail like that. And furthermore, the fact that he was like, oh, what's diverse is diverse. Racism can still happen in diverse places.
Right.
Let's remind everybody that. It don't matter how many people of color you got up in there. Racism can still happen. Sexism can still happen. All sorts of ism can still happen in any situation. So,
and let's not forget that this is a guy who's been in the public eye for a very long time. He's media trained. He has a media team. Mm-hmm. So it's not like this is something that like came out of the blue. Even if the question came out of the blue, because he came out just a year and a half ago with his home Me Too story, that means that if his publicist is doing their job effectively, they would have prompted him and prepped him for any conversations that would have come out of this, because he also had ties to the same show.
Absolutely.
It's not that far of a leap.
So it really
and
is.
It's interesting too that like if it was the Today Show, that's an NBC show. So who was the journalist that asked him this question? Like
there was three of them.
Because you would think if it's an NBC show on an NBC employee, they're all NBC employees,
right?
At the end of the day. So I'm sure before they got on there, they were prepped to say, let's not talk about Gab Union. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about Brooklyn 911. So who was the journalist that either broke the promise and asked that question and got Terry caught up? Because Terry can't keep his mouth shut. Like, there's something weird behind that too for me. And honestly, I haven't paid attention to it at all this whole week. But just thinking out loud right now, I'm like, hold on. If it's NBC dude from America's Got Talent on the Today Show, y'all need to coordinate better behind the scenes for the same network. Because now what it might do is eventually get Terry fired from the show because NBC doesn't want to deal with all the hoopla behind it or whatever it may be. and it's hurting their bottom line nonetheless.
And the killer part about it is because of this, I have to look at him sideways.
Yeah.
Because in my mind's eye, what that tells me is that what other people are going through is not important to you. Mm-hmm. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And it's not to say that that's what he believes. It's not to say that that was his intention. But the fact that he doubled down, and was like, the only person I have to support is my wife. The only woman I have to support is my wife. I'm like, now I have to look at you sideways.
But and that's not my approach. But on the flip side, just playing devil's advocate, do we always have to care what other people think about a situation? And honestly, and that's so not my grain. So don't say, oh, Carell. No, because I wouldn't have brought it up. I would support people, etc. But just thinking, I know there's some people probably out there listening saying, is it really my responsibility to care?
I don't know why I'm screaming. Good Lord. I think that we're living in a time where it's just not acceptable anymore to tear people down.
No, I agree.
And so, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, we would think nothing about taking a picture of somebody that, in our view, looks unattractive or unkempt or whatever, and then sending it out for a bunch of laughs, right? But that behavior back then was wrong, really, because they can or they can't help how they look, but they shouldn't be put on display for our amusement because they look different. And so having that understanding that that's not acceptable behavior, a lot of us are very aware of how we're using whatever platforms we have to talk about or promote people or whatever. So the fact that he chose that opportunity to not support, and going to your question of are we obligated? I don't think we're obligated, but I think we are now more self-aware of how our words and our actions are detrimental to other people, that we have a choice. And our choice is we can either throw people under the bus, intentionally or not, or we can choose another way. And he didn't choose another way. He chose to throw somebody under the bus.
Yeah. He chose a check. He chose a check over
friendship or helping the situation.
Right. And to be honest, again, and we've said it already, but him using his platform during the Me Too movement, if you're using your platform, what's the difference in her using her platform?
Right.
Yeah.
There's no difference. There's no difference. So it's not okay for you to give a damn about your platform, but not give a damn about someone else's platform.
Right.
And if you're going to double down and do the Nene Leakes, like I said what I said, and the only person I support is the people in my own household, then we, the Joe Q public, have the right to look at you sideways and really question going forward how much of what you believe or what you're interested in do we get invested in, because you've clearly shown us that the only people that matter to you are the people that are in your household.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, this similar to almost like John McEnroe and Martina Navratilova right now. For those that don't know, Australian Open, by the time this episode comes out, will be ended yesterday. But during the tournament, so Martina Navratilova she's won 18 Grand Slams, one of the best players ever. John McEnroe, one of the best American players ever.
And still playing.
They do still play
exhibitions.
Exhibitions and things like that. And they commentate every Grand Slam. But during the tournament, they protested. They walked out with a sign on the court and got in the PA system protesting Margaret Court. Margaret Court is the all-time winningest Grand Slam woman in history, and it's the record that Serena's currently chasing. Mm-hmm. However, Margaret Court is very anti-LGBTQIA plus community. In the Australian Open, she's Australian, and the Australian Open has a court named after her. So they protested on the court with a sign for another name that they think the court should be named after, because Margaret Court just continues to say anti-LGBTQIA plus things. Martina Navratilova is a lesbian woman. So they both got in trouble. John and Martina are so high profile within the tennis world that it's awesome to see these high profile people continue to care about matters that they care about, you know, and doing it in high profile ways, not caring if they would get in trouble, potentially losing their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. But it's like you said, you got these moments and you got to almost do the right thing, even if it's at the detriment of you personally or your career, professionally, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm here for it. Let's rename Margaret Court.
Yeah.
We don't need that court to be named that. She's showing that she's
bye girl, bye.
Bye girl, guy. And come on, Serena, break these records so we no longer say Margaret Court is the greatest or the most winningest tennis player ever. Like on both sides, male or women, no one has won as many Grand Slams as she has.
Yeah.
So
no, I completely agree. I mean, you know, I have my issues with John McEnroe because he's also put his foot in his mouth, especially when it comes to Serena Williams.
He absolutely has.
Know, this is the one time I've given him a clap. I'm like, you know what? Okay.
A one-handed clap.
Look, you get one. Because you done said some shit too. But that just shows that I think he's more aware of his own behavior. I hope he did it for that and not for trying to bring someone else down for putting their foot in their mouth in the past too. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, but like you said,
I feel that
coming through and break these barriers. And
because these third round losses, Serena, are not it.
No, not at all.
No.
Jarrell and I were texting back and forth because Dewan still likes to DVR sports for some reason.
I ain't staying up to like 4:00 in the goddamn morning, wait on the off chance that after somebody that played 6 hours, then they put the women on to play their 2 hours. No, I'm not doing it.
But let it be known, it was like 10 p.m. Eastern time.
Right. I was going to say, it was
okay,
like
so it wasn't even that
true.
damn late.
Right.
It's true.
Actually, I think it was like 7 because it was like 4:00 my time.
She
It was
had
early.
things to do.
It was early.
Yes.
Hey, so the first time he said I ruined it, and then the second time he said Patrick Marakulu ruined it for him for posting on social media because he's DVRing live sports.
But here's the thing, though. I DVR'd it and I was going to watch it first thing in the morning. So I got up at 6 a.m. to actually watch it. So it wasn't like I waited like 2 days later and then,
he got the nerve to get on social media. Like that shit ain't going to be all over social media.
They are on the other side of the world. I did forget about that, but
yeah.
Girl.
Yeah. But I will say, you know, like it was hard. But you know, she didn't play well at all. She did not play well at all. Girl in the ponytail, her weave was falling out.
Girl, the ponytail was falling out.
Oh,
Serena was just having a bad day.
It was a bad day, yo. It was so bad.
I was texting Jarrell. I was like, "Can we like help Serena's ponytail right now?" Because like her like the little her natural hair was coming all out in the braid. And, girl,
it was hanging on for dear life. Like, you know how people be talking about edges? Like, literally, the ponytail was on the edge of glory for real. Okay, like
Serena was struggling, the ponytail was struggling. It was just a bad struggle of a day.
It was. But I will say, at least she ain't gonna have no reason to back out next weekend because it ain't like she played all the way till this Saturday. You know, so she got her little 2-week rest from now to the Fed Cup. So she better be there next weekend when I roll up to Everett, Washington, and I'm gonna be yelling my ass off. Don't play.
Please get some pictures of Patrick for me.
Oh, look, I'm telling you, look, child, you don't even know. You don't even know.
Y'all, if y'all don't watch tennis, y'all are missing out on Serena's coach. Serena's coach can get it. Absolute. And he got cakes.
Patrick already got a restraining order out on Carell. Patrick lived on the whole other side of the goddamn world and got a restraining order on Carell because she be stalking him on social media.
She be replying though.
And posting.
Yes. Hey, Patrick. But that tennis tournament, they announced Coco Gauff's going to be on it now.
The Fed
really?
Cup?
Yeah, in the Fed Cup, it's going to be Serena and Coco.
Hey. Okay, now.
So that'll be lit.
Yes. Oh, I'm so excited.
I know, right? I'm jealous.
Yes.
Man. But you know who else needs a little Black History Month lesson?
Who
it is?
David Schwimmer. Black Twitter lit his ass up. Erica Alexander lit his ass up.
She did. And tagged all the cast members.
And right. So for y'all, if you're living on the rock the last week, so David Schwimmer, cast of Friends, got on either, I don't think it was Twitter, he was on some show saying that if they were to reboot Friends, he would like to see like a black version or a person of color, people of color version of it. And the second he said it, Black Twitter was on it. It's like, bitch, do you realize your show was made from Living Single?
Exactly. Your show is the reboot.
And then didn't the writer or the producer of Living Single show the receipts too? Tweeted the receipts that it was written based off of Living Single.
Yeah.
Because like they were both on Warner Brothers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so literally, and actually, to really give receipts, the show Living Single was first called like All My Girls or something like that, or My Girls or something like that. And then they didn't like the title after they shot the pilot. So the short list was My Girls, Living Single, Friends, and like something else. Mm-hmm. So that already shows you they already had the idea for this show to be Friends.
Yeah.
So, come on, David Schwimmer. That's your Black History Month.
Look, she got them residual checks, and she didn't check out of the entire universe. Girl, she had no idea.
She ain't doing nothing else anymore. So I mean,
she's like, it worked for me. She's like, the only person I have to worry about is my wife.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't he just in? He was just in the reboot of Will and Grace, though, wasn't he?
He was in the second season. He was in the second season for a few episodes as Grace's boyfriend. But I mean, even then they were like, bye. Because she ended up being single and having a baby this whole season. So like,
I haven't seen anything this season.
It's actually, the reboot of that show actually is not bad. They picked up right where they left off.
Like, I never saw the first go round. I missed a whole like generation of NBC shows. I think like I didn't watch I haven't seen a single episode of Friends. I didn't see anything of Will or Grace. I didn't see anything of what else was on NBC at the time. Pretty much after the Cosby Show.
See, not after the Cosby.
Damn,
a bitch checked out.
So you really checked out, girl. If it's been that long
for like 30 years.
She's like, all I've been watching ever since has been Martin.
Right. And Living Single reruns. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Chappelle's Show.
Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah, here and there.
What was that? Was it Centric? You've been just watching the Centric
TV1.
And TV1.
She's been watching Sanford and Son reruns for the last 25 years.
Ooh, girl. That's Corey. Corey loves him some Sanford and Son.
Really?
I could go downstairs right now and it might be Sanford and Son on TV.
I tell you what, they be wearing some tight ass pants back in the 70s.
So, right?
Yeah. I know. I think about fashion then and how people make fun of like quote unquote effeminate wear now or not as quote unquote masculine wear. I'm like, did you not see the 70s and and the 80s what dudes were wearing?
Exactly.
And you got the nerve now to be a boomer, quote unquote, and like make fun of Lil Nas X at the Grammys or what Billy Porter's wearing. Girl, bye.
Yeah.
Girl, bye. Because I'm about to pull up your pictures from 83.
I feel like anybody that is so pressed about what somebody else is doing or wearing does not have enough going on in their own life. Sorry.
No, I completely agree on that. What do y'all think about Selena Gomez coming out about her emotional abuse while in her relationship with Justin Bieber?
I didn't see this story either.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to fill me in because I don't follow the.
Yeah, so I believe she was on an interview and she was talking about her latest song, "Lose You to Love Me," and it's based off of her relationship with Justin Bieber and how she realized that she was going through emotional abuse through that relationship.
Was it from him or was it from his fans?
From him. From him. And actually, Justin Bieber actually took on Twitter and admitted to doing it too, because he was having anxiety and going through the, issues with dealing with fame and using drugs. And while he was going through his struggles and going on and using drugs, he admits it, he was not the best partner. He was not where he is today, you know, saved and sanctified and married now, found Jesus. Right. But he said, he was like, yeah, I was abusive. He was like, I was not in my right mind and I was not a good man. You know,
at least he admitted it, and that's hard to admit.
Right. Yeah. But, you know, there's two things out of this. And this is why I bring it up, because I wanted to get you guys' opinion. They broke up, like, I want to say like 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even 6, a minute. You know? And so some people are giving her backlash because of how long it's been, you know, and they're like, now you want to say something, and on top of that, you're using this as a way to promote your song, you know, so people are mad about that. But then to the other side of the coin too, people are upset because they would have wanted her to kind of go into detail as far as how did she get out of the emotional abuse. Like, they were wanting for her to make it more about her growth and her journey versus, right, you know, the situation back then. You know, they wanted to see, you know, they wanted to be more of an educational part. But I also want to remind people though too that, like, you know, that doesn't excuse whether Justin Bieber admitted it or not. It doesn't excuse his actions, and she is entitled to feel and go through her journey at her own pace. But I just wanted to open it up to you guys and get your opinions.
Yeah, I mean, I see it both sides, and it honestly could be an and situation. Like, yes, she might be like, you know what, I went through this hard situation, and guess what? I'm gonna collect a coin on it because you put me through so much shit. Watch me collect this pretty little coin. And I'm honestly probably not that mad at it. And like you said, people got to go through their own journey. And if it took her 6 years to get to that space, it took her 6 years to get to that space. Some people don't get to that space at all. Out of 80, 90 years, they on their deathbed still harping on stuff that they didn't get over when they were 10 years old or 20 years old, you know? So kudos to her for taking the steps to better herself. But I agree, she might need to put out there how she did it. Is it therapy, promote therapy? Is it, you know, whatever it may be? That way it shows there are options and lanes and avenues to get to a better space, since she has such a huge platform, especially on IG, which I still don't know
Twitter,
how she has.
It was on Twitter. People. She has the most followers on Twitter than any celebrity.
Like, it's bizarre to me. Like, who's checking for Selena that much?
Not me.
Is that a generational thing? Am I like aging myself right now?
She must be like a TikToker, you know?
I like TikTok though.
You're the only one, girl.
No, TikTok.
All these celebrities,
you and the 13-year-olds.
No, because Lizzo be on TikTok like every damn day.
Heavy
with them 13-year-olds.
Girl, now I think that's a generation moment right there for Dwan.
I ain't got time for that. But I do think, like, I agree with you, Carell, and you, Jarrell, about the motive. Like, I would never, like, you know, judge and try to value, like, her experience, but I would be curious about what is she doing to help promote other people getting the help that they need. And as opposed to just using her own experience just to promote a song. Like, you know, I could imagine there are a lot of people, a lot of record producers that are like, oh, you need to really, like, you know, like, talk about something emotional or hurtful and blah, blah, blah. And yes, she didn't make this up. And I'm not suggesting that. So yes, she didn't make it up. But like, if her motive was, I just need another song that's just showing a different side of me versus, you know, I went through this and, you know, I'm healing through this, and this is allowing me to heal, and I want others to have the same opportunity. That's a completely different message. And I just haven't, I mean, first of all, I don't follow for her for that, but I would be curious as to whether or not that's her modus operandi.
Yeah, I don't know. I personally would have liked for her to, like, talk about what exactly is emotional abuse, you know, something that a lot of people don't realize, that, you know, there's physical abuse and there's also emotional abuse, where, you know, it can be subtle texts such as like intimidation or manipulation, or just refuses to ever be like pleased or happy with that person, you know, just to start making them feel like they are less than, and or like they are dependent on you. It can come in many different forms, and I really wish she would have just dove in a little bit deeper and just educated people on it, because emotional abuse is real. I've experienced it. It's something that we should be having a conversation on, because it's another thing that leads to depression and anxiety and so many other things that, you know, people that turn people to thinking negative and harmful things to themselves, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I wish she
feel
would
that.
have just really just gone deeper and been really real. Like, if you're going to make such a vulnerable song, you need to speak from that place and be educational through and through, not just the tip of the iceberg and then be like, oh, well, this happened to me. And then
right. And then that's like, okay, well, what do we do with it?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. You know? So,
and especially with even, I mean, I know she's probably has a lot of fans within the gay community. So just, I mean, even we just saw like the Atlantis cruise, a guy jumping off the boat to his death. Mental health is still a huge issue in a lot of communities. So promoting where you can find help, like even like the Trevor Project within the LGBTQIA plus community, or the suicidal prevention hotlines and things like that. I agree with that big of an platform. She probably does need to do more of an educational piece to it. So.
And before we close, I just wanted to say, just kind of kicking back to what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, this is Black History Month. So we're going to be doing something. We're going to be doing a lot of things this month to just bring light to, prominent people in the Black community, as well as Black allies, and certainly, highlighting the LGBTQ plus community within that. So we're going to be doing a couple of posts throughout the month just to celebrate, some barrier breakers today. I know a lot of people are going to be sharing things about the Harriet Tubmans and the OGs of the that have paved the way for civil rights and things like that. And I think that that's all really valuable and totally support that. But one of the things that we talked about that was really important was to really talk about the folks that are really doing things today, that are doing the same things, that are breaking barriers and paving the way for civil rights and acceptance and equality across a lot of spectrums, including our straight allies. So you'll be able to see that. And if you think of somebody that's breaking a barrier that you'd like for us to highlight, definitely send us a DM or let us know.
I think Dewan missed that whole spot.
I think he did
first
too.
part of the episode.
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
That's so okay, girl. Remind them again.
That's right. Look, she had her glass of water. She had a glass of water. She like,
so did. But before we get out of here, like obviously by this point, a lot of people have talked a lot about Kobe Bryant's death and the other 8 folks that were on that helicopter ride. Right now, obviously, we record on a Wednesday night, and Vanessa Bryant actually just released a statement about it. And so that's trending on Twitter as we speak and recording this episode. But our prayers are out to those families and honestly the world, because he impacted the world like crazy. Like, I mean, me growing up, he was the player. Like it didn't get any bigger than Kobe Bryant. Everybody wanted to be Kobe Bryant. Everybody wanted to shoot baskets like Kobe. I mean, even the Chappelle show where he's like Kobe, and that became just so synonymous of shooting like paper
like balls basket. Into the trash can in school. Like,
it's just like, man, just the positive impact and even the flaws that he had as well.
Yeah.
It just shows that you can overcome your flaws and try to be a better human being. He was so proud about being a girl dad. It was tough to hear that one, and it was just so sudden and tragic. I don't know.
I like the petition that's going around that's talking about changing the NBA logo to a fadeaway shot from him.
Right.
I would love to see if that become something.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you. Like, it's just so hard to just even. It still doesn't feel real, It
doesn't feel real at all.
It reminds me of like when TMZ broke the news of Michael Jackson's death, and I was kind of like,
yeah,
no, like.
It's like, hold on.
Right?
Right.
And then on top of that, like, he was just trending Saturday because LeBron James had broke his record. So he was already trending.
Right.
And LeBron was already giving him a shout out and everything. And then the
he
next
was responding on Twitter and everything.
And everything. And the next day he's gone. Like, it was just like, we just saw interaction with him being part of the community and all that stuff. And not just him. Because, again, I don't want to take away from the other 8 people that were in that, too. You know, like, those families are just
altered. Life is altered.
Yeah. And one of the things that, like, I cried a couple times, but the thing that made me bawl and break down was the photo I saw of the basketball gym where they were supposed to be playing at the tournament.
Yeah.
And they all found out, and you saw them kneeling, and some kids, like, on the ground crying and stuff like that. Like, that just took me all the way out. I was already, like, hanging on for dear life and still just in shock. But I can't imagine. And like you said, like, my thoughts and prayers go out to those families. And I just wish they find courage and strength and the memories, the wonderful, loving, positive memories that they have with them. And they just find a way to continue to let their memories live on through the work that they do for the rest of their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And for the people out there that are constantly pointing out Kobe's flaws, like, obviously he went through, like, a rape trial and things like that. This is not the time. Like, I get that. Yes, we all have flaws. And his was a big one at that time and place. But that's not what Vanessa, his wife, and his kids need to see right now.
Yeah.
Like, they're grieving hard. That's not what the people who also died on the helicopter need to hear and see right now.
Yeah.
Have some empathy. Have a bit of pause. You don't have to crack jokes all the time. You don't have to be nasty all the time. Like, I think that's one of the flaws of social media right now. Everyone's trying to be first of a meme or first of a joke or first of whatever. We've all gone through situations where we lose people. Think of it through that mind frame. Take just a moment of pause and empathy and sympathy goes a long way. Because these folks' lives are altered. And honestly, a lot of folks don't even know Kobe personally, but he impacted us because he was just such a monumental figure in pop culture and sports culture. So just a moment of pause and empathy is all a lot of people need, and hug your relatives and your friends and your loved ones close, because literally life is fragile. Life is short. Live it up. Do what you want to do, because you just never know when it's your time to go, honestly. And so, I guess on that note, we'll end it right here. But stay prayed up. love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, don't forget to like, share, download, subscribe. We're trying to grow. 2020 is about the year of the growth of the podcast. So we could only do so much. We seriously, guys, we need your guys' help so much. So if you listen, please share. It just takes 30 seconds to just share something that we post. Yeah. Yes. Simple.
And if they toxic in your life, but they got a lot of followers, you can share it and then you can cut them out. I'm just kidding.
That's true.
Love and light, guys.
Love y'all. You have a good day.
See ya.